Hello and a very good Friday morning or afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Nadia and I'm delighted to be joined by Julie Montagu. Now, Julie is Viscountess Hinchingbrooke. She is also the daughter-in-law of the Earl of Sandwich. And Julie is here with me today to discuss the leadership, the legacy of King Charles. So, Julie, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Nadia. So, Julie, tomorrow is a big day in England because King Charles will have his coronation. And for you, what does it mean for you? And I say you are a royal expert, but you're also a royal insider.
Yes, I mean, I don't know if they go hand in hand, those two, but perhaps they do. Perhaps they do. First and foremost, I think, there have been, Nadia, as you know, three big royal events in less than 12 months. Less than a year ago, we had the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And then sadly, a few months later, we had the death of Her late Majesty, the Queen, so the state funeral. And now here we are, the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla. So it has been a year filled with, royalty that I don't think anybody could have ever predicted.
And on a personal level, what do you feel about King Charles?
Well, we know that he has been, was the longest waiting heir apparent in history. And that's because, of course, his late mother reigned for 70 years. But, in the meantime, and prior to the Queen's death, he got on with the job. And I think for many people, what has been overlooked about King Charles III is his initiatives, his charities, and really his passion about the countryside here, environmental issues, climate change, and farming. And a lot of that has been overlooked because we know that there has been, of course, tragedy within that family with the death of Princess Diana. And that, I think, has in one sense overshadowed the work that he has done. And it's quite magnificent and tremendous, the work that he has done. He, again, has been a patron of, I think it's around like over 800 charities and initiatives in total. That's a huge number right there.
And Julie, I think people underestimate his interest and his knowledge about climate change. He was one of the first high-profile people to really draw attention to the planet and what was happening. And now it's something that's become so much more mainstream. Before we get to that, if you are just joining us, I am joined by a royal expert. She is the Viscountess Hinchingbrooke, and she is the daughter-in-law of the Earl of Sandwich. So before we get back to Charles for a moment, I think people are fascinated by you. I'm getting some interesting questions. How does Julie Montagu get to be Julie Montagu and the Viscountess of Hinchingbrooke? Just give us a bit of background to you and an understanding of, I say, your royal pedigree, Julie.
Well, that's probably stretching it, but I'll take it. Thanks, Nadia. No, just really quickly for those of you who are tuning in and listening, I married into one of the most, I think, well-known, oldest noble families in the country, the Earl of Sandwich family. Now, prior to my marriage, I had no idea that earls, dukes, and viscounts existed. I just thought it was, all prince and princesses and kings and queens, I think, like many people really across the United States and across the world. But I did marry into the Montagu family. And you can see, if you're even watching this later, you can see the portrait behind me is Edward Montagu, the first Earl of Sandwich. Now, he's really important, especially for the coronation that we're actually going to witness tomorrow, because without him, we might not be having coronations today, because Edward Montagu, before he was given the peerage Earl of Sandwich, he went on a secret mission in May 1660 to bring back Charles II, who was in exile. Because let's remember, Charles I was executed. The parliamentarian forces took over. It was the first time this country didn't have a monarch. And he brought Charles II back for what we call the Restoration. And a year later, in 1661, King Charles II was crowned in Westminster Abbey. And that's because of our ancestor behind me, Edward Montagu, who later became the Earl of Sandwich. Now, the snack that we know, the sandwich, is also because of our family, but that phrase wasn't coined until the fourth Earl of Sandwich, when that word came to be the most popular, one of the most popular words used today, because he was a great politician and head of the Admiralty, and he would work at his desk very often with papers. And so he asked that his piece of meat be put in between two pieces of bread, and thus we now are all eating sandwiches.
Oh, Julie, that is, I've always known that the Earl of Sandwich was real, and the sandwich was in fact a thing that came from there, but I've never heard that exact story. So you really, in a way, play some part in tomorrow's huge, massive event that's going to take place in England. So I'm getting lots of questions in from various people. And a question that I'd like to ask you is Camilla and Charles. So we are going to see King Charles and the Queen Consort. As someone who's lived in England now for how many years?
Over 2 decades now, yes.
Okay, children are British, and you married into one of the most prestigious British families. How do people really feel about Camilla now, 2023? Obviously, very different feelings to when Princess Diana died.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful question, and I think a poignant question to ask. I think in particular, the British public has definitely turned the tide with her, and she's much more accepted. She's done incredible work. But let's remember, it was quite controversial when Charles and Camilla decided to marry after the death of Princess Diana. And I think for many people that was upsetting. Princess Diana was the people's princess. She was so loved around the world. And so, they were quite clever about it. They, in one sense, had a PR machine behind them just to make sure that she was slowly integrated into charities, into speaking events. And this was a slow process. This wasn't, right within the first year of their marriage. This has been a long time coming. And in order to gain that acceptance and really that confidence from the British public. Now, I don't know what it's like over across the other side of the ocean and what the feeling is around Camilla, but I know that she does great work. And I know that, she is a loved member of the royal family.
And then, of course, the other question is, we know Harry is coming because that's what the press is saying, but no Meghan and none of Harry and Meghan's children. So are you comfortable talking to us about that?
Of course. And I would say that many people here, including mine, think that is the right decision that was made. And I suspect that they thought long and hard about it, because we have to remember that since the death of Her Late Majesty, the Queen, we have had a 6-part Netflix series come out, one of Netflix's most popular documentary series of all time. We've had Prince Harry's book Spare come out, the fastest selling nonfiction book of all time, with incredible detail that some of the detail would almost make your toes curl, that you can't believe that was actually written. And we know that a reconciliation, at least between Meghan and the royal family, has not happened. And I think it was the right thing to do, because it would have taken away the spotlight and the celebration and the enthusiasm that we have around the royal family, many of us, away from the events that are happening this weekend. I think that Prince Harry's choice in coming alone, again, was the right decision. It has been said that he's coming not necessarily to support the institution, but to be there as a support for his father. But either way, whatever his reasons are, it is the right decision. But I think having Meghan there would have taken away from these days, these tomorrow and Sunday and Monday. It's a bank holiday here, taken away from really the energy and the enthusiasm that you can really feel here, in particular in London.
Now, it's been called Operation Golden Orb, and King Charles has been very specific about making this a more modern ceremony, trying to keep up with the times. I understand only 2,000 people have been invited, not nearly as many as when the Queen had her coronation. Tell us more about that. And are people offended if they weren't invited?
Well, I mean, you're asking somebody that probably would have been invited had things hadn't changed. So we have on display in our house, Mapperton, which is open to the public in Southwest England. We have on display the Earl of Sandwich coronation robes, the coronet that the Earl and Countess had worn in 1953 and in 1937, and in of course in prior ones as well. And those are now not being worn. And my father-in-law is still the Earl of Sandwich. My mother-in-law is still the Countess of Sandwich, and they were not invited. So I'm sorry, I'm going to burst a lot of people's bubbles if you're wondering. They're not invited. Now let's remember the difference. When Queen Elizabeth was crowned in 1953, the attendance was 8,251. And I always wonder, who is that one? What was that one? And now, yes, and it's very much slimmed down. We have just over 2,000 invitations that have gone out. But it's very different, and it represents this new king that we are now seeing emerge. And it represents, as I mentioned earlier, these in some way the charities and the initiatives that he has been a part of and really championed over these 70 years, if you like. And so I think it's really important that we are seeing a difference in his reign as opposed to reigns in the past. So no, we are not offended. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. In fact, I will tell you this, that two of our farmers on the estate here at Mapperton have been invited because because of their initiative towards farming in this country, which is huge, regenerative farming, and they have been invited, and I think that's the right thing to do.
That's so interesting. Now, if you're just joining us, I'm speaking to Viscountess Hinchingbrooke. The estate is Mapperton. You can go onto the website because they do open it to the public. Her father-in-law, the Earl, and his wife of Sandwich sound like they're very active. And I know in your videos, Julie, I've seen the Earl of Sandwich join you in commentary. And I think the point you make about they were at the Queen's coronation, they will not be at this, but two of your estate workers are, who have been involved in initiatives. That says a lot because, as someone who is in professional development, which is what I do, I'm always looking at leadership, and we're looking at King Charles. You and I had a fabulous discussion about Queen Elizabeth's leadership, and we're talking about the positive qualities of her ability to learn. And you did such a wonderful job of talking about the legacy of Queen Elizabeth in terms of the positive things she did. King Charles is now the king, and what does he bring that's different? That's the focus of our discussion if you're just joining us. And fascinating, now we do see that we have Jill and Joe Biden from America there. We see the Japanese princess is in England for the coronation. Macron and his wife are there. There's some controversy over the Chinese who are there, and that's been criticized. Are you hearing anything around that?
Well, my view on criticism is that we know that there was always going to be criticism in some shape or form with this coronation, whether it was the attendees, whether and as you just pointed out, there you go, Chinese attendees, and I think as the weekend unfolds, we are going to see more criticism. I don't know what that will be, but I think overall the spirit is positive and it's enthusiastic. And we're looking forward very much to seeing, again, King Charles's leadership that will be different from his mother's. He does not want to step into the shoes that his mother wore for 70 years. He wants to create a new path, and around the initiatives and the charities that he has been so passionate about over the past, as I said, for 70 years. And that is what's and he's been quite vocal about them as well. I think much more vocal, and as he could be, because he wasn't king, than his mother ever was about some of her, charities and initiatives that she supported. We know that King Charles is very much an advocate for climate change and the environment. Many of his initiatives revolve around the environment. In fact, he bought Highgrove in order for him to sort of start that initiative with organic produce that we see now in all the shops across the UK here. So that is something that he will continue to champion. And let's also look at the invitations that were sent out, completely different, if you like, of sort of the pomp and circumstance that we've seen in the past with the invitations in 1953 and 1937. You saw the flora, the fauna going, being created all around the invitation, and the arrangements and the bouquets that will be, and which we will see in Westminster Abbey. After the ceremony, they will be packaged up, if you like, and be sent out to care homes and hospices and to the vulnerable members of the community. And they won't be housed in the Abbey in single-use plastic or any of that floral foam. I mean, he's really looking at the details.
Everything. And of course, at a time like this, it's a situation where anybody who's criticizing the monarchy, who's saying, do we in fact need this at all? I mean, that's inevitable, because it is 2023 and you still have a British monarch. It is still costing the country millions and millions and millions and millions of pounds to do this. So it's interesting you say, in terms of criticism, is the positive, and it sounds to me like you're saying the positive of this is outweighing the negative in every way.
Well, that's my view. And there's been some chat, Nadia, about, I mean, we don't know for sure, but it's been reported in newspapers that this weekend will cost £100 million. But if you look at that £100 million and compare it to the hospitality, the benefits to the hospitality sector, to the tourism sector. And let's remember, out of all sectors that were hit the hardest during COVID, it was the hospitality sector. So this is an opportunity for pubs across the nation to benefit from this, for tourism, but also without the royal family, we wouldn't have that ability, I don't think, to really showcase smaller charities, less known charities that maybe wouldn't get the attention that they're getting now because of the role of the royal family. They are working, they attend so many engagements and events. And we just saw yesterday, the Prince and Princess of Wales, they went to a pub in Soho. They went on the tube, the Elizabeth line, and they are definitely much more, I think, relatable. And in one sense, that spirit that Diana had, where she would kneel down, open up her arms, hug, the warmth. We are now seeing that and feeling that in particular from the Prince and Princess of Wales, absolutely, but also with King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla as well.
And we can't discuss tomorrow. And again, I'm looking at questions that are coming in. And thank you. I am talking to Julie Montagu. She really is a royal insider, royal expert. She is the Viscountess Hinchingbrooke. Please go onto the website of Mapperton House. So just remind me what that website is, Julie.
Yeah, so it's just Mapperton, Mapperton.com, Mapperton.com. And then do check out my YouTube channel. I've done a couple coronation videos there. That's called American Viscountess. And remember, Viscount is spelled like discount if that helps.
Okay, so I want to put that in. So it's YouTube because it's really good, and it's American Viscountess. I'm putting that in and I'm typing it so people can find you, because you've got, and also just seeing Mapperton House is a glorious space. And have you seen an increase in any tourism during this weekend?
Yes, absolutely. As soon as we, well, we didn't know where the robes were. We had no idea where the coronet robes were because, of course, they haven't been worn since 1953. And lo and behold, we were told that they might be in a chest in the house. Now, I think many people think, how would you not look through this chest? I have to be honest with everybody. I didn't know, and we found him in the room behind me. I didn't know that some of the furniture that you see in this room actually opened up to a chest. So it just looked like a piece of furniture to me. So we were told that it was in one of the chests. And of course, then my husband showed me that actually this piece of furniture, it opens up and there's a chest. And inside, I mean, I'm probably going to horrify some people, but in black plastic bags we found, and actually they were in brilliant shape. So whatever happened there, they kept them all away. They were in brilliant condition, and we found the robes and the coronets, and we've had those now on display. And I think that has really helped to see an increase in people visiting Mapperton House, the nation's finest house in England. And also in particular, my YouTube channel is the demographic, Nadia, I have to say, is mostly American. And we've seen more Americans than ever before visit Mapperton, which has been brilliant. It's a 2-hour and 20-minute train ride journey from London with beautiful landscape and English topography and countryside. So it's a lovely train ride to get down there as well.
And you may even get to meet the Earl of Sandwich, ancestor of the originator of the sandwich, which is just remarkable in and of itself. So a question coming in about Andrew. So very much, you know, the disgraced brother. Will he be there, and what will his role be?
So reports were coming out today that Prince Andrew and actually Prince Harry will have no official role at this weekend's events, no official role. And my understanding is that Prince Harry will literally be flying in and out. We have to remember that, of course, LA is 8 hours behind us. So there is a chance that he can get back just in time for Archie's 4th birthday, which is tomorrow. So my understanding is that Prince Harry will be only at the ceremony and then will be whisked away and heading straight back to the airport, heading back home. Prince Andrew, again, not an official role at all. And I don't think we will be seeing very much of him apart from the ceremony itself. And I don't know about the concert or any other events that are happening that involve the royal family, but I'm certain he won't be on the balcony, and he probably won't be at the concert either. I believe it's just the ceremony.
So there's so much more to discuss with you, and I know people are intrigued. Schadenfreude, maybe some level of dark interest in some of the dysfunction of this family, which has been fascinating, something we can discuss at another time. But for today, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about the kind of king that King Charles will be. And as you say, the focus on charities, his philanthropy, his focus on climate change, and just trying to make the ceremony so much more inclusive. And that in itself will be fascinating. So if you were to have Charles and Camilla in front of you right now, as today dawns, a message from Julie Montagu, Viscountess Hinchingbrooke, daughter-in-law of the Earl of Sandwich, and just a very articulate, wonderful royal watcher, Mapperton House. I've given it to you. YouTube American Viscountess. I'm going to let you in today while you give the royals a message.
My message to King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla would be thank you. Thank you for highlighting and putting a spotlight on the environment and the need for rewilding, also the need to help small farming communities, for regenerative farming. There is a way that rewilding, giving land back to nature, and farming can work together. And King Charles III has highlighted this so beautifully. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie Montagu, and we look forward to a full report from the two of the people who work on your estate, who are going to attend the ceremony. And just as always, thank you for being so very